There's something most people don't talk about enough when it comes to the twin flame journey. It's the unspoken fear that lives inside the heart of the divine masculine, the fear of love itself. Not just the fear of losing it, but the fear of truly letting it in, the fear of being seen by it, changed by it, dismantled by it. This journey between twin flames isn't just about finding your perfect counterpart. It's about being cracked open in ways that most people never are. It's about a love that confronts you with your deepest wounds and demands your full presence, your full soul. And for the divine masculine, this can feel terrifying, not because he doesn't love his divine feminine, but because the depth of that love feels too powerful to contain. So today, let's take a look at what's really going on behind the mask he wears. Let's peel back the layers and see the soul underneath, the part of him that's overwhelmed, vulnerable, and unsure of how to meet a love this sacred. When we understand this fear, not from judgment, but from compassion, we begin to see the truth. He isn't avoiding her because he doesn't care. He's avoiding her because everything in him is being asked to transform, and that kind of change takes time. We'll talk about what makes this connection so intense for him, why he may pull away even when he feels deeply connected, and what's really happening inside him during those moments of distance and silence. Let's begin. Number 1, he's afraid of being seen without his armor. The divine masculine has spent his whole life being taught to be strong, to hold it together, to lead, to protect. From a young age, he's been expected to wear a kind of armor. Not the physical kind, but the emotional kind. The one that hides his pain, his doubts, his tenderness. The one that keeps him appearing stable even when he's falling apart inside. When he meets his divine feminine, something extraordinary happens. For the first time, he feels completely seen. Not just his strength, but his soul. She sees beyond the walls, beyond the masks, and it shakes him, because now he can't hide. Her gaze pierces through every layer he spent years building. It's not just her eyes that see him, it's her energy. Her love calls forward everything he's tried to suppress. This kind of visibility is overwhelming. It's like standing in front of a mirror that shows not just your reflection, but your truth. And for someone who has lived behind a shield, that truth can feel threatening. He doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't know if he's ready to be that open, that exposed. So what does he do? He distances himself. He pulls away. He says he's confused. But really, he's just scared of being naked in front of love. This isn't weakness. It's protection. He's not trying to hurt the connection. He's trying to preserve the only version of himself he's ever known. The one that doesn't let anyone see the cracks. The one that thinks love only comes when you've earned it, proved it, or controlled it. But twin flame love isn't like that. It's raw. It's honest. It demands that you show up without pretending. And the divine masculine, even if he doesn't have the words for it, feels that demand. And sometimes it's too much. The journey forward is about learning that being seen is not the same as being judged. That the feminine doesn't want to fix him. She wants to meet him. That his vulnerability is not a flaw, it's a doorway. The more he learns to soften into this truth, the less terrifying her love becomes. Number 2, he doesn't trust what he feels, because he's never felt this before. For most of his life, the divine masculine has been taught to live from the mind, logic, planning, control. He's been praised for being practical, grounded, and reasonable. Emotions, those were often brushed aside. Feeling deeply wasn't encouraged. It was seen as a distraction, something messy, something to keep in check. Then suddenly, she walks in, and everything he thought he knew starts to unravel. The twin flame connection doesn't just stir up some nice feelings. It hits him like a wave. Strong, unexpected, disorienting. For the first time, he's feeling things he can't explain. Things he can't put in a box or make sense of. It's spiritual, magnetic, like a force pulling him towards something he doesn't understand, but can't ignore either. And that's terrifying for someone who's always relied on logic. He begins to question himself. How can this connection be real? How can it be so intense when it defies everything he's been taught about love? A part of him wants to run toward it, while another part wants to shut it down, dismiss it, ignore it. Not because he doesn't feel it, but because he does. And he doesn't trust those feelings yet. He wonders if he's being foolish, if he's imagining it, if it's too good to be true. He might even test the connection by pulling away, ghosting, or acting indifferent, just to see if it's real, just to see if she'll still be there. Because deep down, he doesn't know if he can trust something so unfamiliar. And here's the thing. His fear isn't just about the feelings themselves. It's about what those feelings require of him. They're asking him to surrender, to let go of control, to stop analyzing and start feeling. And that's a big shift, one that shakes up everything he thought he needed to be. So when he retreats, it's not because he's cold, it's because he's overwhelmed. The intensity of the connection makes him doubt what's real. And until he learns to trust himself and the energy between them, he'll keep trying to control or escape it. But here's the beauty. The soul doesn't forget. No matter how far he runs, something in him remembers. And with time, the walls start to soften. The mind quiets, and the heart begins to lead. Number 3, he's carrying deep wounds around worthiness. One of the biggest reasons the divine masculine fears the connection is because deep down, he doesn't feel worthy of it. And he might not even know this consciously, but it's there, under the surface, a quiet belief that he's not enough, that he'll mess it up, that if he lets someone love him fully, they'll eventually see all the parts of him he's tried to hide and leave. This isn't just about romantic love. It goes deeper than that. It touches old wounds, childhood pain, times he was made to feel like his emotions didn't matter, moments he felt invisible, maybe even experiences of betrayal or abandonment that taught him to be self-reliant, to not expect too much, to not open up fully because people leave. So when his divine feminine enters his life, this soul who sees him, loves him, reflects his light, he doesn't know what to do with it. A part of him wants to receive it, to soak it in. But another part panics, because if he believes he's not enough, then that kind of love feels dangerous. It feels like something he can't hold on to, something that will slip away. And instead of facing that wound, he might sabotage the connection. He might say he's not ready. He might create drama or distance. He might choose someone else who feels safer, not because he doesn't love his twin flame, but because he doesn't feel worthy of her love. This self-worth wound is tricky, because on the outside he might look confident, strong, put together, but on the inside he's fragile. And this connection is asking him to face all the parts of himself he's buried, to rewrite the story he's carried for so long, that he's unlovable, unworthy, too much, or not enough. What helps is gentleness, patience, space to grow into a new truth. The more he begins to accept his own light, the more he can allow her love to reach him. But it takes time. And in that time, he'll wrestle with himself. He'll fall back into old patterns. He'll test the waters again and again until he's ready to believe fully that he deserves the kind of love that doesn't leave. Number 4, he equates love with losing his freedom. Another fear the divine masculine often carries is the belief that love will trap him, that entering into this connection means losing his independence, his identity, or his sense of control. For someone who has worked hard to build a life, structure, or sense of direction, love, especially one as powerful as this, can feel like a threat. It's not that he doesn't want love, it's that he's afraid it will demand too much of him, that it'll require him to give up parts of himself he's not ready to surrender. And the twin flame connection? It asks for everything. It asks for total presence, total honesty, total transformation. And to him, that can feel like losing himself. He might think, if I open this door, I'll never be the same. And he's right. He won't. But what he doesn't yet see is that it's not about losing freedom. It's about finding a deeper kind of freedom, one that comes from being fully seen, fully loved, fully expressed. But in the beginning, he doesn't see it that way. All he sees is the intensity, the pull, the feeling that his life is about to change, and he's not sure if he's ready for that. So he holds back. He creates distance. He might even convince himself that the connection is a distraction from his goals, his responsibilities, his purpose. Yet the truth is, the twin flame connection doesn't take away from his path. It clarifies it, it deepens it. It shows him what really matters. But he can't see that right away. He has to move through his fear first. The fear of being consumed, the fear of giving up control. Eventually, he'll realize that true love doesn't cage him, it liberates him. It doesn't ask him to be less of himself, it calls him to be more. But until that awareness comes, He'll wrestle with the idea that love means sacrifice, and that's a hard story to unlearn. Number 5, he's afraid of failing her. One of the deepest, most hidden fears the divine masculine holds is this: that he'll let her down, that he won't be able to give her what she deserves, that her light, her depth, her purity, everything she brings to the table is more than he knows how to handle. And rather than face the shame of not being enough, he chooses silence. Distance, confusion. This is the part no one sees. On the outside, it might look like he's being cold, inconsistent, detached, but underneath, his heart is wrestling with a quiet guilt, a pressure, a voice in his head that says, what if I mess this up? What if I hurt her? What if I open my heart and then break hers? This isn't a surface level fear. It's rooted in the part of him that wants to be a protector, a provider, a solid foundation. And when he sees her depth, her spiritual maturity, her clarity, her capacity to love, it scares him because he doesn't feel like he's there yet. He sees how far along she is in her journey, and instead of being inspired, he feels behind. So what does he do? He distances himself. He doesn't say why. Sometimes he doesn't even know why, but it's that deep-rooted fear that drives him. The fear of being the reason she suffers. He doesn't want to be another source of pain for someone so sacred to him. And because he hasn't yet learned that healing happens through love, not by avoiding it, he tries to protect her by staying away. He thinks disappearing is better than showing up half-ready. But what he doesn't realize is that this, too, creates pain. Because absence hurts, uncertainty hurts. He has to learn that love isn't about perfection, that she isn't asking him to have it all figured out. She's asking him to be present, to be real, to be honest about where he is and what he's feeling. And that kind of presence, even in his mess, is far more powerful than silence. As he grows on his path, he'll start to understand that being worthy of her doesn't mean being flawless. It means being true, being committed to his growth, being willing to take small steps toward opening his heart, even when it's scary. And when he realizes that she doesn't need him to be perfect, just present, his fear begins to fade. He starts to see that this love isn't here to destroy him, it's here to help him rise. Number 6, he's still learning how to feel safe in love. Safety. It's not something the divine masculine always knows how to find in relationships. For many of them, love hasn't felt like a sanctuary. It's felt like a battlefield, a place where expectations suffocate, where emotions explode, where vulnerability leads to pain. So when the twin flame connection arrives, soft yet intense, magnetic yet overwhelming, he doesn't immediately trust it. Not because the feminine isn't safe, but because he hasn't yet learned how to feel safe within himself. His nervous system isn't used to stillness, to intimacy without chaos, to closeness without conditions. So even though his soul longs for her presence, his body reacts with resistance, with fear, with an urge to escape. It's a trauma response, not in the dramatic sense, but in the very real human sense. His inner world has learned to brace itself for love, to prepare for the withdrawal, the heartbreak, the disapproval. So when she comes in with unconditional presence, it confuses him. He doesn't know what to do with love that doesn't punish, that doesn't demand, that just stays. And so he might retreat, not because he wants to abandon her, but because love feels unfamiliar in its pure form. He needs time to rewire the stories in his nervous system, time to unlearn what love used to mean, time to create safety within himself so he can feel safe with her. This part of the journey is tender. It can't be rushed, because healing isn't just emotional, it's physical. His body has to learn that closeness doesn't always mean danger, that softness doesn't mean weakness, that being in love doesn't mean losing himself. The more space he has to regulate, to reflect, to breathe, the more he can begin to feel calm in her presence. And from that calm, he begins to open, slowly, gently, but meaningfully. Eventually, he begins to see that this connection isn't a threat. It's an invitation to come home to himself, to his truth, to his heart. And when that realization dawns, everything begins to shift. Number 7, he's facing an identity death, and that's no small thing. Here's something that's rarely said out loud. The twin flame connection requires death, not in the literal sense, but in the spiritual, emotional, and energetic sense. When the divine masculine meets his feminine, a part of his old identity begins to dissolve. The part built on ego, on illusion, on external validation. the version of him that was created to survive, not to thrive. This can be deeply destabilizing because we all get attached to our identities, even the painful ones. They give us structure, a sense of self. And when love comes in and threatens to transform that self, it feels like a loss of control, a death of the familiar. And so he resists, not because he doesn't feel the love, but because that love demands transformation. It doesn't let him stay small. It doesn't let him avoid his wounds. It pulls him into the fire and asks him to rise. This is the scariest part for the divine masculine, because it's not just about the relationship anymore. It's about who he becomes through it. He's being asked to evolve, to let go of the old version of himself that no longer serves him. And that kind of surrender, it's terrifying. He might cling to old habits, old relationships, old ideas about who he is and what his life should look like. Not because they're fulfilling, but because they're familiar. Safe, easy. Meanwhile, the twin flame connection keeps knocking, whispering, reminding him of what he's here to become. This inner war can go on for months, even years. It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that something massive is trying to be born through him. And birth is never easy. Eventually, the identity cracks, the masks fall, and what's left is something far more real, far more powerful. A man who no longer hides behind illusions, but lives from soul. And when he gets there, he doesn't fear the connection anymore. He honors it. He recognizes it as the sacred mirror it's always been, not a threat to his freedom, but the key to it. At the heart of everything we've talked about is this truth. The divine masculine isn't afraid of her. He's afraid of what she awakens in him. The feelings, the truths, the transformation. Because this kind of love doesn't ask for surface-level partnership. It asks for everything. His honesty, his presence, his willingness to grow. But he's not broken. He's not cold. He's not incapable of love. He's just scared. Scared in a way he doesn't yet know how to express. Scared in a way that makes him shut down instead of open up. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he feels too much. And here's where the journey softens. When we stop seeing his distance as rejection and start seeing it as resistance to his own awakening, everything shifts. We stop taking it personally. We start seeing his journey for what it is, a sacred unraveling. The divine feminine holds a key role here, not by fixing him, chasing him, or trying to force the connection, but by standing in her light, in her truth, in her own alignment. Because the more she holds her frequency, the more he can rise to meet it, not through pressure, but through invitation. And he will rise. Maybe not on your timeline, maybe not in the way you imagined, but he will, because this journey was written in your souls, and what's written in the soul cannot be undone. So if you're walking this path right now, feeling the silence, the distance, the ache, know this. It's not the end. It's the in-between, the space where he's learning to become who he was always meant to be. Love isn't the enemy here. It's the path, the fire, the transformation. And one day when he's ready, he'll step through that fire, not just for you, but for himself. And that, my friend, is when everything changes.